back to another edition of Neon Trash. I'm your host, Tommy the Hammer. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing one of my favorite French horror films from the mid-2000s. I'm talking about the infamous movie Martyrs. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with this film, I just want to say one thing. Keep it that way. The less you know about Martyrs, the better. This is one of those movies that really works if you fly into it blind. And that's pretty much how I went into this film many years ago. I flew into it blind and it totally blew my mind. My jaw was on the fucking floor. Everything about this movie is awe-inspiring and I love it. It's one of my favorite films from the modern era. But before we get to the ins and outs as to why I like this movie so much, why don't you guys check out the trailer? I had to kind of stitch this footage together myself. Apparently, there's copyright infringements and all sorts of rigmarole online, so I had to make it myself, and I kept it real vague. So for those of you that have never seen this movie, there ain't gonna be no spoilers whatsoever, so you can watch it without fear of having anything ruined for you guys. Check it out real quick, and when we get back, you're gonna know my opinion on Martyrs. I like about this movie the most is how it takes the audience down a twisting and winding road in terms of its narrative. It starts out as one thing, and you're definitely shocked by all the, depravity and violence that you're seeing on screen, especially, to these main characters, the two main women that are our focus, as an audience. And, as you're watching this horror drama unfold, you start to wonder to yourself, is this a supernatural horror movie? Is this, a grounded, realistic, down and dirty grindhouse horror film? You're not really sure. And that's why I like this movie so much, is you can't really pinpoint it at first. You're kind of lost, same as the main characters in this film. And that's the best thing I can say about Martyrs, is that it definitely takes the genre and turns it on its head. The violence in this movie is bar none. There are certain sequences that just make you sick to your stomach. All the flesh ripping and stabbing and people getting shot with guns and torture and depravity. It's enough to make any grown man sick to their stomach. And once again, this is something that I really appreciate about this movie, is its unflinching sense of gore, blood, and violence. It's extremely visceral, and if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a movie that definitely pushes the envelope and takes you right to the ceiling in terms of what you can handle as a horror movie, as a violent, disgusting, and depraved horror film, then Martyrs is definitely the film for you. The movie itself is only about an hour and a half, and it really packs a lot into that short runtime. A friend of mine was discussing Martyrs with me one day, and he liked the movie pretty much in its entirety until the last 30 minutes, which he thought kind of dragged, kind of went on far too long. Well, I've watched this film twice now, and upon my second viewing, I think I liked it even more. So I was really kind of focused on these last 30 minutes to see if I could understand it from his perspective, and I gotta say, I still disagree. I feel like the last 30 minutes, is a trial on purpose. It's putting the audience through as much visceral pain and suffering as a lot of the main characters in this movie have to endure, and that's vitally important, especially considering the overall plot to this movie. That being said, guys, all the violence and gore and murder and disgusting action wouldn't amount to a hill of beans if you didn't care about the characters. And that's another thing I can say about Martyrs that I liked a lot, is its characters. They were very realistic, very endearing, and you felt bad for them. Sometimes your allegiances to these characters would shift, over time throughout this movie. And, one minute you're liking one character, the next minute you're liking another, and you kind of see things from their perspective. And it's interesting to see how your thought process kind of changes during the duration of this film. During the early to mid 2000s, I feel like horror films worldwide were kind of reaching a renaissance period, if you will. The 90s was chock full of whodunit, Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, wannabe films that really fell flat in my opinion. So by the time films like Martyrs and another French horror film that I really like, High Tension, came along, well, you could tell that a new, younger generation, the generation that I grew up with in the 1980s, was finally kicking that door open again and bringing back the visceral, grindhouse, cult movie vibe that we all loved and missed. I absolutely love the acting, I love the set designs, I love the music, I love the gore, I love the story, and I love how this movie definitely takes you to that edge, takes you to your limit. Few films can really accomplish that, especially in such an artful manner. And I gotta say, guys, out of 10 stars, I rarely give movies a perfect review, but in my opinion, Martyrs is a perfect film. This movie is definitely a 10 out of a 10. And if you've never seen it before and you're looking for a movie that definitely pushes the envelope, check it out. The less you know, the better. Until next time, guys, tune in to Neon Trash.